Hello again, and welcome everybody to another episode of OTR Vantage Point. I am your host, Mark Kelley, wherever you are. Thank you for making us part of your day. It looks like CNN just can't get out of its own way. They continue just to be CNN. But before we talk about that, make sure you go back, hit those subscribe, those likes, those follows. If you're listening on audio, give us a 5-star rating, leave us a comment, interact with the pages, help us boost our reach. Don't forget to go back and check out all the past episodes of On the Range podcast with Warhawk Tactical and Kelley Defense. Also, past episodes of Vantage Point and Warhawk Words of Wisdom. Now, CNN just put out an article. CNN Business, more specifically. Not only is it an interesting take, it's a clear demonstration of how they are completely disingenuous. Not necessarily lying, but certainly would like to use the word misinformation. So they put out an article at CNN Business, and I hate talking about the same thing over and over again, but it's so easy to point these out. It's right in your face. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's not, but it's always there. But CNN continues to roll out this narrative that Spotify is just getting hammered. It does look like it, and they're not really lying. But look at the title of the article. Web traffic to Spotify's cancellation page spikes as company remains mired in the Joe Rogan controversy. Now, right off the bat, the article quickly reminds everybody or tells everybody about how many people are going to the cancellation page for Spotify. Now, that's what it says. It says visits. But does that mean that there's searches or visits to the actual page? And I'm going to explain that because the analytics isn't clear. Number one, they don't have access to the analytics, CNN. Not unless someone has given it to them. But I certainly doubt that. Especially with the things that are going on. So the article says that 190% spike. 190% spike in visits to the page. Now, what is a visit? Are we talking about actual cancellations? Because it doesn't say that. So I'm going to say no, because if it was, they would say that. And let's be honest, 196%, right? Look at the number. It's 118,000. Just over 118,000. So that to me is not a big number. It sounds like a big number. You know, someone might think, well, that's a big number. But here at the OTR universe, we're dealing with these analytics all the time. We have to. We take a look at it. We extrapolate whatever information we can from it. And it's not always that easy. And we have accounts with a third-party vendor for putting out this podcast. And they don't even get all the numbers from the platforms that push it out, like Apple, Google. It's difficult. So there's no way that CNN has direct access to these unless they're getting it by some nefarious activity. And let's face it, it could be. But I seriously doubt that they have access to these numbers, these analytics. So 118,000 sounds like a lot, but let's just put it in perspective. If even half of those guys canceled, okay, even half of them, and I'm using paid subscribers, even half of 118,000 canceled, that is nothing compared to the monster that Joe Rogan Experience has as an audience. But I don't think that the numbers certainly equate to cancellations. It just says visits, but it does seem like a lot. So is that based on searches or visits to the actual page? Because in the actual source, it cites SimilarWeb, which is a spokesperson, or they have a spokesperson from Spotify commenting on that. But SimilarWeb told CNN Tuesday night that they had seen traffic to the cancellation page spike 196%. That set of data was compared to traffic the previous week in January 17th, which was 39,000. Okay, so it went up, it basically tripled in a week. But look at this number right here. Spotify premium monthly services range from $10 to $16. And there's also a free version, right? They have 180 million paying subscribers. 180 million subscribers. 180. Just let that float out there for a while, guys. That's a ton. Now, 70,000, 65,000 is not even worth mentioning to Spotify. They probably have that change every week from people losing and people gaining. Like I said, again, CNN doesn't have access to these analytics. They're going basically on what the third-party vendor, the data analytic people, said about Spotify, okay? Public information. So if you think about it, with that small of a number, and we've talked about why it is because of how many people actually pay for the site, and that's not all the numbers that actually listen to the site. That's just paying subscribers, 180 million. So they go to so I'm guessing that there were people that did cancel, but what were they doing when they went there? Were they going to look? Were some of them based on the data that came out on this article or the article that was written originally about the data? Maybe. So there's no question that some people probably did cancel. But how many people do you think joined? How many people do you think joined? I can tell you right now, if Joe Rogan was losing followers or some number like that, of significance, they'd be reporting it here, but they're not. So what are they doing when they visit that page? Are they just simply clicking it? Are they actually canceling? Probably some, but even if it was half, even if it was all of them, Spotify would never be concerned about that number. What's the percentage of that 180 million do you think are listening to Joe Rogan or watching Joe Rogan on Spotify? I bet it's a very high percentage. And remember, we talked about it on OTR Vantage Point, and we talked about on our flagship On the Range podcast that Brian Stetler came on TV and was talking about how much of a big problem this is. How people seem to trust Joe Rogan and alternative sources rather than a big major CNN newsroom. But this is why. But why are they, you think they're really mad? I tell you why they think they're mad. Because of this reach. Because of this reach. Joe Rogan has 11 million people listen to every single episode. To put that in perspective, Outkick.com. Outkick.com and Outkick, or the radio show that Clay Travis and Buck Sexton took over for Rush Limbaugh, the podcast, they had 12 million in a month. And that's one of the highest rated, probably the highest rated radio shows in the country. So put that in perspective. That's 1/10 of the listens that Joe Rogan gets. And that's a great show. Go check that out. Clay Travis and Buck Sexton, go check that out. Great radio show. But CNN is mad because of that reach. Let's face it. And they're also mad that they can't get rid of him. It looks like, and by the way, I'm going to admit, I was wrong. I thought they would really hammer it to Joe Rogan. It's not over yet. But, hey, I'm man enough to admit here at the OTR universe, Rick and I, if we're wrong, we say it. It doesn't look like he's going to go anywhere. Here's another thing, too. Joe Rogan is turning down other offers for hundreds of millions of dollars to stay at Spotify. He's not going anywhere. But we'll see what happens. Now, let's talk about this CNN thing, because this is a perfect example of how they misuse news and data and push it out to your narrative. They're making it sound like, oh, people are canceling left and right because of Joe Rogan, Spotify. No, they're not. That number is completely 100% insignificant. 180 million paying subscribers, and 75% of them are probably Joe Rogan listeners. So that's not all the CNN did. They also did another article. I'm going to touch on this a little bit. And the reason I'm mentioning this article is because they totally get it wrong, and then someone else capitalizes it and goes out and gets it right. And all they basically are doing are just pointing out the fact that CNN is wrong, and they're getting great hits on their website. So Dave Chappelle goes to a city council meeting of his local neighborhood where he lives. And he speaks out about a project that's coming up that's being built near his house. The headline is that Dave Chappelle speaks out against low-income housing project. And then they have a video clip on there. It's not even close, friends, to the truth. Not even close. And that's being charitable. They know exactly what's going on. They know what Dave Chappelle was speaking on. He's not the only one who spoke about it, by the way. There were several other members of the community that were speaking out about it. They never follow up and try to, if I'm being charitable, they don't try to get the facts. I think they know the facts, they just don't print it. That's what I think. And that's why people don't trust them. They just push this narrative because it's a great click grabber. But Dave Chappelle went out there and spoke up about the housing project because it was labeled one of the portion of the project did go through, but the one that was labeled for low income housing or affordable housing wasn't affordable. He pointed out immediately that, hey, look, these are mid $300,000 residences. They just happen to be condominiums and townhomes. $300,000, you think that's affordable in Ohio, midtown Ohio? And like I said, there was multiple people that talked about the same thing, saying, hey, this isn't affordable housing. This is not what you're doing. And the real winners in this particular article, when it covered Dave Chappelle out of Yellow Springs, Ohio, is the New York Post. Every time CNN comes out with an article like this, New York Post just does a op-ed, so to speak, and counters everything that they should have said and pointed out how they are wrong. They're killing it. So go check out the New York Post. They're telling the truth in a lot of these articles. I don't read it all the time, but ones that I see where they're pointing out the ill intent or the wrong reporting of CNN, I always try to read them and recognize them for that. So CNN has another problem too. They only hire the mouthpieces. They don't hire any opinions that are across the aisle or any even central of the aisle. I don't know why they don't do that. They would immediately have some sense of legitimacy if they had someone that was saying something different. At least you get some more viewers. Their ratings are in the tank. It is terrible. It is absolutely terrible. And they just seem to think that everybody is stupid. They hire these guys who also either turn out to be creeps and just liars because between their shows, they seem to be treating everybody bad. And we see the stories come out. They get rid of a couple of them, but they're hiring a fixer. So help is coming. Help is coming, friends, to their new streaming service. I think it's called CNN Plus. That's original. CNN Plus. Very original, guys. Whoever they got go over there, top notch on that. They're hiring Jemele Hill. Jemele Hill, probably one of the least likable news sports personality commentators you'll ever meet. Completely unlikable. Her takes are terrible. And I tell you what, you don't like Brian Stetler and Clapper's takes. Wait till you see Jemele Hill's. They're terrible. She got booted off of ESPN. ESPN, the wokest sports media out there. She gets booted off. That's telling you something. Well, CNN picked her up. But they seem to keep continuing to try to be the least trusted news network out there. But nobody's watching. Nobody's watching. This is just a continuous cycle, and I think at some point they're just going to go away. They're going to be segmented and broken up, and it's not going to be very long because absolutely nobody's watching. I can't believe they have anybody that even advertises on that because nobody watches. You can go anywhere, whether you agree with their politics or not, and get 10 times more views. 10 times more. But here's my thoughts. This network is being run into the ground. And I got to tell you, I thought once Jeff Zucker left that maybe this would change a little bit. No. Maybe this hire was already in the works with Jemele Hill. But you'd think it would turn around because they immediately had that doctor doing a 180 from CNN's take about the mask for children. I thought, oh, wait, maybe Jeff Zucker was behind it. No, then I hear the news about Jemele Hill. So Joe Rogan was quoted on one of his shows last Thursday, or at least the show came out on Thursday, saying that he didn't hate on CNN, but it was a good take. What he said, and I think Daily Wire covered this. Go check them out. He basically said, hey, look, if it's not working, change your model. And this is what we're saying here, but they're not. They're not willing to change their model. They think what they're doing is the correct way to do it and the way to get views and push out the news. Their opinion, not the facts, is what's important. And you're too dumb to realize that. And they're going to keep force feeding you down until you believe them. It's not working. You're not dumb. Americans are smart. So do I believe that there's a chance this could be turned around? The answer is yes, it could be turned around, but do I think it will? No. No. They'll continue to hire this talent because I think they believe they have some kind of a niche, some kind of a niche, as they may say, and that their audience is that. But their audience is getting smaller and smaller. Clay Travis pointed out last week on the Tucker Carlson show, or maybe Sean Hannity, that more younger, left-leaning folks are going to other news agencies besides CNN, like Fox, just to get a straight take. Where they disagree of the opinion of the commentator, they want to hear what the facts are because they can't get it at CNN. But if they want to be a legitimate news network, they need to start hiring some different talent. You know, Clay Travis made a great point. Bring Megyn Kelley in. Even Mike Wallace, who I'm not a big fan of, he went to NBC, I think, MSNBC on their streaming network. They could have brought him over. At least it would have been middle of the road. But no, they keep hiring folks like Jamel Hill to somehow grab those shock clicks. And they do that at the expense of the truth and the facts. Tell me what you think about this take. Leave us a comment below. Make sure you interact with the pages, like, follow, ring that notification bell. And don't forget to check out On the Range podcast with Warhawk Tactical Kelley Defense. Go to KelleyDefense.com, Warhawk.com. And don't forget to check out the Patreon page at patreon.com/On the Range podcast. Again, patreon.com/On the Range podcast. There you'll find all of our online content, Zoom calls, interaction with the group, and our training counters and promo codes are on the websites as well. So go check it out and let us know what you think. But at the very least, leave a comment below, share these video, audio shows on your social media and to all your friends. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend.